Good morning. My name's Sam Byrne and I'm from the Co-op Federation, and I'm your customer today for Regional Business Connects 10 at 10. Thanks very much to the team for inviting me to be a part of this. We have 10 questions. I'm going to read them out, but the opportunity of not having an interviewer, what that gives me is little flexibility, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about cooperatives first and my organisation, and then we'll get into the questions. First, what is a co-op? In one sense, it's just another business structure like a company or an association or a partnership, but in another sense, it's a unique, long-standing structure. The original social enterprise structure from the mid-1850s in England. Commerce with a conscience is a phrase that's used for cooperatives. Cooperatives balance their social and business purpose, and that's very much part of the philosophy. Cooperatives are member-owned and controlled. Members must be active in the way that they support the cooperative. There are global principles for cooperatives' behaviour that are also locally legislated in Australia. Co-ops can be for-profit or not-for-profit. They can be very large or very small. Some of our largest businesses in Australia are actually cooperatives. They're in almost every industry. They can take many different forms, from businesses purchasing together in a cooperative structure, or marketing together in a cooperative structure, sharing equipment together, transporting together. They can be worker cooperatives where the workers work together in the cooperative. They're a great alternative to the franchising model, which is quite prevalent in Australia. There's a number of those where the franchisees own the structure rather than the franchisor. There's a whole range of new platform cooperatives using technology and the internet as a base. So there's driver-owned Uber and Fairbnb, those sort of structures. And they can really be used for business succession, particularly in regional areas where a business is closing, a family business is closing, the community wants to keep it going, or the community takes it over through a cooperative structure. My organisation, the Co-op Federation, is a not-for-profit co-op with more than 90 cooperatives as our members from many different industries. We run governance training for specifically for cooperatives. We give our members all the assistance they need to run their cooperative, assistance with the rules and the laws of cooperatives, and we also help people to set up new ones. So that just gives you a bit of sense of our business, if you like, as a peak body, and we have, as I said, a very diverse membership of cooperative businesses from up and down the East Coast. The Federation, so that was the first question. Who am I? What is your name? Second question is, how many years have we been in business? The Cooperative Federation in various forms has been around for many decades. It's almost lost in the mists of time how long there's been a peak body like us for cooperative enterprises. There's myself, I've been involved for about 7 years in the Cooperative Federation, and in an executive role for about 4 years. Before that, I had a diverse background in the public service, community sector consulting. I was a local councillor and mayor, and also on the board of a large superannuation fund. So a very diverse background, but for 25 years I've been in and out of cooperatives, and a range of different ones. My first cooperative was a retailing cooperative in Sydney. Ardell offices in Sydney too, I should have mentioned that. I better plough on to the other questions. What is your preference for marketing your business and why? To be honest, at the moment, the Co-op Federation does very little marketing. A lot of our business comes from word of mouth from other cooperatives. So there is, we don't, and we should be doing a lot more. We use Facebook and Twitter, but we haven't gone broader into other platforms. With cooperatives particularly, but I'd say all businesses, you know, the story is very important. It's not a new thought, but the stories behind cooperatives, I think, are particularly important. And so that sort of telling those stories, telling how the cooperative began, who are the members, how does their community benefit from the cooperative? Those sort of stories are really important. The difference you get with the cooperative is that focus of benefiting members. It's not about profit to an external shareholders or external interests. It's about benefits and profits for those members locally. So you can be very sure, if you in a regional area, that your cooperative with local members is going to be focused on the benefits for those local members. The other key advantage is known as the cooperative advantage, where that sort of profit, that excess, goes back to the membership and goes back in the local community and stays there, rather than being you know, lost out of the area. There's some research about the amount of money that cooperatives keep in local communities, and it's a fantastic benefit of ours. The fourth question is, what has been your biggest business disaster and how did you turn it around? I found this one difficult to answer. We haven't had a disaster in the recent times. Certainly, in other roles we've had disasters with reputation, and I guess the point I would just add is reputation is very important. So that's the best I can offer is keep an eye on always think about your reputation. Most important. The fifth question is, what are your most important business tools? Really, as I said, word of mouth and building relationships is really our tools. But we also run a conference every year, although it didn't happen this year due to the pandemic and those communications. But what I stress is business is about relationships, and again, that's not a revelation. I'm sure everyone knows that. The sixth question is, what is your most prized business system? I wasn't sure if but really the way we work is we ask cooperatives when we work with them to join us, and that builds a long relationship. It means we're there after the piece of work or the assistance we've given is over. We're there for the next issue, for that longer relationship, and that's probably, that membership system is very cooperative, but it's also very much very important and helps us to operate. Online, we're not if we're talking about business systems online, we use the database, we use Xero, we use those sort of regular, but we don't have any others that are I think would be particularly of interest. Seventh question, what is my preference, running a small or a large organisation? I've really enjoyed running this small organisation the last few years. The nimbleness, the ability to get things done, and having been in very large structures, the public service and superannuation, it's been fantastic to be in a small, so I definitely prefer small. The eighth question, how do you maintain work-life balance? I was working from home for a while, but we now have this office in the city and in Sydney, and that really just helps me to separate. When I go home, I'm at home. I struggled with working from home, found that a challenge. Ninth question, what's the most important thing to do when managing a team? For me, I believe it's allowing team members to own and run projects, and always thinking about their development. I've worked with contractors in this role, and I've let them to run their projects. The final question, what's the most important piece of advice you've received in running a successful business? Two quick things. It's about relationships in any structure, cooperative or any other business. There's evidence that co-op startups last better than other forms of startups, and that just shows it's always about relationships in business, and it's not the structure that matters. And the other thing is, don't check your emails and don't answer the phone when you come in. Sit down and do one of those longer, difficult tasks first when you come in the morning. That was great advice. All the best to everyone out there in the regional Business Connect world in this recovery out of the pandemic. And thanks very much for inviting me on and for listening to me this morning. Have a great day.